This episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast is brought to you in partnership with ministryleague.com. We would love for more people to discover this show, so please rate and review us on iTunes or your podcast provider. Feel free to share on your social media and subscribe at benandtravis.com for the free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living. Welcome back. We are back again for a second episode with our guest, Momma Joy Watkins. And I can't call her Joy. I have to call her Momma Joy because that is who she is and what she has become to us. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Man, we are so thankful that you're here with us. We enjoyed the first part of this interview and looking forward now to some more stuff. Travis, of course, is with us. How are you, Travis?
Hey, Travis.
I'm doing good. I'm great. Getting motivated, getting fired up to fight, and ready to hear about how you've impacted others' lives, especially young people.
You know, we talked about last time just a lot of different things. You know, your journey with cancer really got into the journey that your family had to go on in your cancer. But I guess one of the things that kind of segue into a little bit something different is what are some ways that your journey has helped you after the fact? Like, what are some things you're doing now with it? Because you mentioned kind of at the end of last one, your website and some of the things you're doing. I assume some of that is connected, what you're doing with young people now, somewhat connected to your journey before.
And it's more about my faith, about my walking in my calling. I feel as though I am doing what God expects from me. And so volleyball is my passion because it allows me to be with young ladies and hopefully make a difference for them. And I get calls and messages from parents that tell me that I've made a difference, not tooting my horn, because that's not what that is. It is, I believe I'm doing what God intends for me to do, to be there in a way that sometimes parents can't be for their children. We all know as parents that our children don't always take it from us, that they'll hear the same thing that's from someone else that you've already said 12 times and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I need to, really?
Yeah.
but that's true. That happens. Yeah. In fact, this past week, a mom messaged me. Her daughter got a letter for recruitment for volleyball. She played for me 2 years ago, almost 3 now. First time she ever played club ball. And she was very shy. She really didn't want to play. Her parents said, "Oh, you're playing." And something that I did, and I didn't know these children, but I decided we were going to regionals and they were in Birmingham. And so I decided that we were going to have a spend the night party. And so I got a hotel room, and parents trusted me. As I think about that later, these parents trusted me, this total stranger to most of them, to let their daughters spend the night with me in this room. And everybody was okay with it. And I just think about the power of God in this time when there are so many people that take advantage of children, and we're very untrusting. They trusted me. And because they trust me, like I work even harder to make sure that I never lose that trust. But this young lady spent the night with us, and we had been playing for, a couple of months. And that night she said, "I just want to tell y'all, I didn't like none of y'all. I didn't want to do this, but I'm so glad I did." And she was just like bubbling over. Well, her mom messaged me and was like, "My baby got a letter from a college. They want her to come to this expo."
Wow.
And so they can see her. And that I love that, because she didn't have that before. And again, that isn't a joy story. That's how God uses me, how I let God work through me. And I think that's important. Like, we need to know what our calling is, what we're supposed to do, who we're supposed to be out here to make a difference and make an impact. And that's what Girl Got Power is about.
You know, I was thinking about how many kids have you impacted?
Oh, wow. I've been coaching 11 years.
Okay.
I don't even know the number.
Yeah.
I really don't. I'm me. This is the person God made. I believe in being positive. I believe that we're supposed to help others, that we're supposed to put other people ahead of us. And I don't see a lot of that in some circles. And, a lot of people in this world are really so self-consumed and really selfish. Like one of you guys asked me about a pet peeve, and this drives me crazy. When I see people take the grocery cart and push it to the cage and just park it instead of just putting it in the cage. So somebody has to come behind them. That drives me. I just like, you go all the way to, you're right there. Just put it in there. Like, so that person has to go and collect them.
As a former Winn-Dixie bag boy who pushed the carts up the hill there in Florence, up in Petersville, pushing them up the hill, I know what you're talking about, because pre-COVID, I would go and get those buggies and I would put them in the because I'm like, I remember what that was. Of course, now they have the little motorized thing that pushes them in, which is cheating, by the way. But I never had to go to the squat rack because I had strong legs. But on your volleyball comment, I have a hard time watching volleyball because, and it's not because it's not a great sport, but I hold my breath the whole time the ball's in the air. I'm not breathing because I'm like, oh, get it. And I think that comes from Ben and I's family. We used to play volleyball, and my Aunt Myra, who does this also with football, ooh, get him, ooh, get him, And so I watch our Riverside volleyball team. That's the best, and I might get some flack for this, but easily the best program we have at Riverside sports-wise is volleyball. I mean, they've won like several conference championships. But I can only go to so many because my heart can only handle so much. But I'm always impressed with volleyball players. You see the college level and these people are jumping and they're just bringing the thunder. And I'm like, oh, that poor girl. Oh, that poor girl. Oh, that poor girl. But they're loving it. And I can see where the confidence would be built there. So
you don't have to be the best to do it. You get better at it, but it's okay that you're not, because, and I try and encourage my players to look at each other as sisters. So when you're on the court, you want to do everything you can to help your sister be successful. So you can't just let the ball drop. Like, you have to go for it. Even if you don't get it, you have to you have to give it your all. If you're not willing to give it your all, then you're wasting my time. You're wasting your parents' money because it's not free. Yeah. So, like, if you're not going to do it, and I think we need to get there with our young people. Like, unfortunately, it seems like there's so many young people that expect everything to be given, and like they're not working for it. These parents that call the coach and email the coach and get mad at the coach because their child didn't play. We're teaching our children something opposite of what they need. So if you're not playing, then you need to work harder. There are some circumstances where it doesn't matter what you do. We know this is true. There's some politics in sports, even in high school sports. It just is. That's why I probably could never be a high school coach, because I'm not going to do that. Like, recently I had a principal's daughter play for me, and I benched her because she wouldn't stop talking. I told her to be quiet and she wouldn't. And so I was like, okay, so after the game, make sure you tell your mama and your daddy, the principal, the reason you didn't play is because you wouldn't stop talking. So I probably wouldn't be a good school coach. But anyway,
Travis is a school coach.
I just would. I'm not good at playing. I can't play the politics. Yeah. That's just not who I am. That's not who I am. And I know it's a part of it. And it comes with it. I get it. None of us are Nick Saban. And so we can't do what Nick does.
Easily the most difficult part.
Yes, I'm sure.
Is
no doubt.
Keeping those personalities in check, and it's usually not the kid because they just want to participate.
Yes. And if it is the kids, they have parents.
Right. Then that's where they heard it from.
Yeah.
And that's where they're
and a lot of
hearing it.
times that's the case for sure. Yeah. That is tough.
Yeah, it is tough. But I mean, I believe we should call a spade no matter what. And so that's how I live life.
But, coming back to what you said at the beginning of that about, you're here for the team, you're going after the ball because you don't want to let each other down. Right. There's some life lessons in that too,
absolutely.
Right? I mean, that's not just a volleyball thing. That's hey, we're all here together. Yes, we're working on this thing together. And so we don't want to disappoint or let anybody else down.
Absolutely. And I think if you get that playing sports, it will spill over to everything else. If it becomes a part of how you see a situation, then you'll respond to every situation or most situations that same way. If we can instill that in our young people, get back to when we were young, like, you're responsible not just for yourself, but you're also responsible for the next person, because what you do to that person will impact their lives. And do you want to be a negative influence, or are you going to be a positive influence? And so and people say, Momma Joy, I think you're a teacher more than volleyball. And I hope so. I hope that the young ladies that come in contact with me gain more than how to bump, set, and spike.
It's just been a really cool relationship, because you were talking about how people are texting you. It's like, I probably bug you because I send text about Destin all the time. Like, hey, look. But we know that a lot of that has to do with what you've done with them. And it's been, it's been talked about in our house way beyond volleyball. Right, it's just been like, oh yeah, Momma Joy, Right. So Destin talks about you all the time. So I know that she's not alone. I know that that's a lot of different people that have impacted you. And so, in our world today, we really need that.
We do.
And our young people need that.
We really do. And you're talking about that leading the service. People were like asking me, y'all at church? Well, baby, it's Sunday. I was like, well, the scripture says, for, you're not supposed to forsake the assembling of yourselves together. And so we together and we assembled and we had some worship. And I don't know why that's a surprise
around
to you.
The pool. Yeah, it was
because
good.
What if somebody wanted to get wet? We needed some water. It's like, whenever I'm going out of town, I always check first before I leave. I always know where I'm going to worship before I leave. I owe that to God, not just because of the cancer, but because of my life. Right. Like, I'm supposed to. And I went to Jamaica a couple of years ago, and we went to church. Yeah. Like, we had worship service. Like, they came and picked us up, and I wouldn't recommend that. That man could not drive on those skinny roads. But anyway, no, I mean,
you have a lot of stories about other people driving.
Yeah. I'm one of.
Is it a control?
I was gonna say, my husband says I'm a control. Yeah. I'd rather drive myself. But anyway, but like, you're supposed to, like, and that's important. That was important for me, like, to show my girls when we were in Atlanta that year for regionals, that I worship before I do anything. Like, Sunday morning, that's worship. Like, you do that before anything else. And so, and there was some that didn't participate, and that was okay. Like, my faith said, yeah, we're going to be around that pool. We're going to have worship, and we're going to do all the parts of worship. Yeah. Because it's not worship if you don't.
Going back to your thoughts on the, bigger than volleyball. I mean, I think, especially with the invention of YouTube and Google, I've got a video that I send to my parents on tackling drills they can do at home without pads, without any of that. I mean, Google exists. You can go out and learn how to do a lot of the things that I teach a kid. Football, you can't get experience without playing. Obviously, that's a key part. But any coach worth his salt, or her salt, is, caring about the kid and wants them to be a good citizen. If nothing, if they don't become a Christian, which is ultimately my goal, if we win all the games and they don't know Christ at the end, then I've missed the point to a large degree, if they haven't at least seen it in my life. And so I think any coach worth their salt should be, molding a good citizen for society, or at least they have to fight it off with everything they've got, because it's so infused in the program. But that's the difficulty that I find. It's hard to teach uh, being a good teammate in a world that tells us that it's really all about you. And it's such a countercultural thing to be about teammates. And I've got kids that, they have varying degrees of ability, but they're great
Right.
teammates. And so I'm going to give that kid every opportunity to lead, to be out front, to have success, because I know they're about the
Right.
team, about the
Right.
team, about the team.
Absolutely.
Whatever is going to help the team, coach, I'm willing to
Right.
do. And man, there's just so much you can do
Yes.
with that. And I'm sure you've run
Yes.
into examples of
Yes.
that.
There is no I in team. And I know people say that and it sounds very cliche, but there is no I in team. And so when you focus on yourself and not the whole picture, then you're not really a part of the team. Like you've missed it. And for a coach to reward that is bad in my mind. Like you don't get to go until you take on the concept, what we're about, then you're not there yet. And I'm sorry, maybe next week you'll get it. Like, I just think that's how we should handle it.
There's a video clip floating around out there. It's a basketball game. And I guess, I don't know what had happened prior, but this guy's walking back down the court and he's got his head down. He's kind of looking at his feet. His teammate comes over and literally puts his hands on his chin, lifts his head up and points at what he should be looking at and corrects his body, his body language. And I'm just like, man, I mean, that takes some guts to walk up. That's a relationship there for him to literally put his hands on his face and correct his body posture. That's stuff like that's just impressive, to see people who have each other's back. And obviously there's a great example there for the church. We all have people that have played that role in our lives. So I guess my question is can you name some people? I'm sure you've got a long list of people who have impacted you to be who you are and to have this program.
In all honesty, my mom has always been my cheerleader. My mom has always supported me in whatever it is I've wanted to accomplish. She's always been there, giving me encouragement, and even my children. Just recently, I had an all-day tournament in Haleville, and my daughter that's at Alabama came home, and they all three went with me and stayed all day. We got there at 7:00 and we didn't leave until like 5:00 Saturday evening. And so really, they've actually stopped asking me when I'm going to stop. Because I started this when my youngest was in 6th grade, and now she is a junior at Alabama. So I've been doing this a long time, and they just know it's my dream. It's what I believe in, and so that's probably, my mom is my biggest influence.
I always loved your family when we would practice, when we would go on trips, when we would play. It was like they'd show up. Your kids showed up to support and hang out. Your grandkids would be there the whole time. And it was like, you're not even playing, but they were there and they were a part of it, even though none of them were playing. They were just there to support. Your daughter helped coach, I think, some.
Yeah, she did.
And so that's a huge thing in my mind.
Yeah.
So.
I don't have another kid that'll ever play. And so, but I'm still doing it because
you got a lot of kids that are playing.
You're right.
Just
you're
a
right.
different way. Right now we're living in kind of a weird time.
We are.
I mean, not just COVID.
Right.
COVID has made the life really weird. We've been talking about that, trying to figure out practices and gyms to use and whatever else. But, there's been a lot of racial stuff going on too.
Yes.
And so I just wanted to kind of ask you, as somebody who I know you've worked with all people, in volleyball and in other ways and social work and whatever, what are some things we can do in our nation right now to help this stuff?
Be honest and acknowledge that there is a difference in how people of color are treated as opposed to non-people of color or people of Caucasians. Let's just call it what it is. There is a difference in how we're treated. Recently, that whole ACT scam or whatever, that whole thing, and one of them got 5 months, and she got to pick where she goes to jail. And there's a story of a mom that sent her child to the wrong district because that district was better for her child, and she got like 5 years.
Wow.
Like, so there's a difference in how we're treated. There's a difference in, I mean, it just is. The things that were implemented years ago before any of us were even here, and people don't even realize that it is systemic. It's there, it's real, and until we acknowledge it, it's not going to change. And then just because you say, I know it exists, doesn't mean that you're saying that I believe in it. It's like, I think there's some fear in with some people. If they say that it's real, that then others will say, well, you're one of them, and that's not the case. Or if we just acknowledge bad behavior, that it is not okay to put your knee on that man's neck until he died, no matter what he did.
Right.
If we don't say that, if we don't call that out, then we're not going to see changes.
Call evil evil.
Call evil evil. Yeah. And
And
it's
it comes in a lot of
okay.
forms.
And
Yeah.
it's okay to be supportive of someone. Like, we have this whole political thing going on right now. I'll be so glad when this is over. Oh my
Me too.
gosh, when the election's done. But it's okay. It's okay to have a Joe Biden or Donald Trump. And it's okay to say, well, I don't think he should have said that. I don't think he should have done that. That doesn't mean that you no longer support the person that you support.
That's right.
We do it with our children. When our
Right.
children misbehave, we're supposed to call them out. Why is it different?
Yep.
Like, as long as we don't talk about it, it won't get better.
Right.
That's what I think.
Call out the bad, no matter
Yes,
who it
no
is,
matter,
and
no matter.
try to do better.
And it is okay to say something's wrong. It's not going to kill you to say that was wrong.
Right. Call it out. I like that.
Satan loves the fact that we don't call it sin.
Right.
I mean, that's what it is.
Yes, we
It's
keep giving
sin,
him more
and there's
power.
only one solution, and that's the problem. It's not the problem that it's sin. It's the problem there's only one solution to sin. Nobody wants to go there, and that's Jesus. And obviously, we believe that, and we shouldn't be ashamed to call things sinful and wrong. And I think the example of our children is exactly the case. The fact that I love my children means that I'm willing to say that's not acceptable and don't do that again.
Absolutely. I think about some of the things that have happened, some of the things our leaders do as a worker, as an employee. If I did half of those things, I would no longer be that employee.
Mm-hmm.
I would be so unemployed.
so unemployed.
So I was like, why am I held as this little person way down here?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I held to a higher standard than those people that we've chosen to be in charge of the whole? Like, I don't get that. I really don't. That concerns me, to find out I have acquaintances and friends and family members who won't say it, who won't say that's wrong. That's concerning. That really is. One thing for sure, COVID has allowed us an opportunity to stand still, and see things that were there, but we were too busy and we missed it.
Well, I hope as a state, I hope as a country, I hope as a church,
right,
that we'll make some stances and do the right things
right,
that need to be done. Things that have been going on in our country a long time,
right,
that we need to make right. Because I love that we're brothers and sisters
right,
in Christ, together.
Yes.
And I really wish we would unify in that. And then you go, here's what we need to fix.
Right.
Here's what we got to do. We got to unify in him first.
And it concerns me that people identify themselves as being Christian, but have hate. And I don't know how, so I don't know who their leader is. I don't know where they're getting that message, but certainly God talks about love. His word is filled with examples of love and how we're supposed to love our neighbors as ourselves. So if you hate me, are you saying you hate yourself? Because you're not, that can't be. We're not in line with his word when we spew hate, when we I mean, it's all across the board. It's not just one thing. It's not just race. You know, they're just all types of sin, and sin is sin. Like, we're the ones that try and make a difference. We try and categorize sin. Oh, this is the worst sin. Oh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, but when we sin against God. We're sinning. We're not obeying his word. And it doesn't matter what the sin is. We've got to stop doing that. Like, we'll point fingers at somebody. Oh, she got pregnant, she wasn't married, but we don't talk about the young man. We only talk about the young lady, or anything.
We pick the things that we get frustrated
right
about.
right. And like, when you speed, that's a sin, because you're breaking man's law. I mean,
don't you go to meddling.
I'm not meddling.
Well, First John, I mean, it covers it. How can you love God? How can you hate your brother who you can see and love God that you can't?
You cannot.
You can't.
You
can't
cannot
love God and hate your brother. It's impossible. It doesn't make any sense. There is no way to do that and make those two things, cooperate. Well, we went heavy on everybody, and that's fine. We do that, but now we're gonna bring it back, and we got some more fun questions for you. Ben, I'm gonna defer to you. Go ahead if you've got one pulled up.
The song that unleashes,
oh my goodness,
the inner joy of Momma Joy when you're riding in the car.
Yes. Okay. So Southside Committed a cappella, they sing a song, More Than Conquerors. Oh my goodness. Like, I will turn it all the way up. I let the windows down because I want everybody to hear it. Like, oh, I love that song. And I can't sing it for you, but
come on,
you can look it up. It's on YouTube.
More Than Conquerors.
Oh my goodness. It is the best song. And it just talks about what we have been discussing today. Like, we really are. We are more, we don't give God enough credit. We don't trust him enough to get us through things. And that song, oh man, that'll tear you up. Yes, it is. Good stuff.
We're gonna we might have to see if we can put a link to that song or something. We'll just have to we'll check it out. We'll find it.
Yeah.
Well, my question is gonna be, what canceled TV show, if you could bring back any canceled TV show, what would it be, Momma Joy?
It would be Columbo.
That's going way back.
Listen, and in fact, I don't really watch television now. Like, very few. I don't know any of the new shows. Like, you could name something, I'd be like, what is that? I have no idea. So I record a lot of Me TV shows from that channel, and Columbo is one of them. I absolutely love.
Those little squint.
Yes,
yeah.
And he is the goofiest. Like,
I haven't seen that show ever.
You could anytime you could be at my house. It's on the DVR. Like, but
Columbo.
yeah, it would be Columbo. And he is so funny to me because as a social worker, we do investigations, and the times that he has been on the crime scene, like one time he ate some cheese from off the tray that the killer had eaten from. I was thinking, really? Is that what police really do? And he was like, we're gonna wrap this up and take it with us when y'all get done. I'm just like,
that's
anyway,
funny.
But I love Columbo.
Like, total opposite of Monk.
Yes.
Touch anything on the crime scene.
Right.
That's awesome. Tell us again how people can contact you, how they can find your information as far as your website, and if they're interested in volleyball and have questions or whatever. What are some ways they can contact you?
They can contact me through my website, which is girlgotpower.com. Girl Got Power is on Facebook. My email is girlgotpower1@gmail.com. So any of those ways they can reach out to me. We're actually getting ready to do our club season. We're trying to get tryouts scheduled. We're going to look at the middle of November. My club is a little different. Again, it's about family.
Because I do believe in what you're doing. I think it's an awesome thing that you're wanting to help these kids, especially kids that can't afford it, to be a part of it and to mentor them, and just really appreciate what you do. Thankful for your friendship that just spontaneously happened for us through this.
It feels like I've known you forever. And it's been 2 years.
I know. It's crazy. So
it is.
Appreciate you being with us.
Thank you.
Travis, what you got to close us out?
I'm just going to say, if you can find a reason or a why to make Destin run a few extra laps or whatever you need to do, you have her cousin's permission to do just that.
Okay.
But thank you for being with us.
I'll keep that in mind. Before we go, there's a story, and I hope this is okay. But whenever I speak, everywhere at the end, I share this story. And it's about a salesman who was traveling down this road, and he hit some rocks, and he spun out, and he ended up in a ditch. And he tried to get out, and he couldn't do it. And he looks up, and this old farmer is coming down the road with his mule, and the farmer walks over to the salesman, and he says, "Son, it looks like you need some help." And he said, "I do." He said, I can't get out." And he says, "Well, me and Buster, we're going to get you out." And so he takes a rope, and he puts it around Buster, and he puts it on the bumper of the car. And he tells the man to stand back. And so the man does. And the old farmer says, "Pull, Coco, pull." And nothing happens. And the farmer's like, the salesman was like, "Ooh." And so then the farmer says, "Pull, Jackie, pull." And again, nothing happens. And so he goes one more time, and he's like, "Pull, Charlie, pull." And by now the salesman's like, "Forget it. I'm stuck in here. My phone's dead. I don't know how I'm gonna get home." And then the farmer yells, "Pull, Buster, pull." And when the mule heard his name, he jerks, and that car comes out of the ditch. And now the salesman is appreciative, but he asked the farmer, he said, "Why did you call him by the wrong name 3 times? And he said, "Well, he's blind. And if he thought he was doing it by himself, he never would have tried." I'm not blind, but I know the value of teamwork. And so if we all work together, we can make a difference.
Hey, Travis, what is the largest bone in the body?
That's the femur, that long bone that goes from your hip socket and connects to your knee.
So let's say that you fell and broke your femur. Do you fix it yourself?
If you're Batman, but those of us in the real world would go to a specialist to help set that bone back into place and begin that healing process.
Well, now what if your emotions get broken? What should you do? Do you fix it yourself, or might it be helpful for you to go and talk to a counselor who can help you get things straightened out?
I think you're talking about our sponsors at Serenity Counseling in Florence, Alabama, who offer help and healing and even a dose of humor to assist their clients every day.
Yeah, the ladies at Serenity Counseling, Becky, Amy, Monica, and Cayron, they offer all sorts of different kinds of therapy, from your talk therapy that we're used to play therapy for children, even EMDR or eye movement desensitization and reprocessing for those who have gone through traumatic events, and then even equine assisted psychotherapy.
Wait a minute, Ben. There's a lot of big words that you just said. That last one, assisted therapy, what is all that about?
Equine assisted therapy, Travis. Equine means horses. They use horses for therapy. Yes, horses are included and present during some of their outdoor sessions. Approaching horses helps us reflect on how we approach our relationships and how we can face other big and overwhelming things in our lives.
Ben, that sounds like God showing up and showing out in his creation. Check out the link to their website in our show notes. If you've ever wondered if a counselor might be the answer to what you're struggling with, give them a call. Serenity Counseling, where hope is given and healing begins.
Serenity Counseling is located at 1954 Jackson Road in Florence, Alabama, and they can be reached at 256-263-6367, serenitycounselingshoals.org. Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.